Hello and welcome to the Invisible College live stream. I'm your host Paul, and as you can see with me today, I have the founder of the Invisible College, Adrian Gilbert.
How do you do?
Hey, good to see you, Adrian. In this first episode, we'll be discussing esoteric topics like alchemy, hermeticism, and Rosicrucianism, and how you can research these topics for yourself. But before that, Adrian, can you tell us about the college, what it's
Yeah.
all about, and what this stream is all going to be about as well?
Yes. Some years ago, I think it was 2008, I originally set up the Invisible College to share the things I'd learned over 50 years. I started on this path about 1970, 1969, long time ago. Most of you weren't born then.
No, I wasn't.
But I met many extraordinary people. I read hundreds of books. I was involved in various things, including writing the Orion Mystery with Robert Bauval. You maybe remember that.
Yes.
And lots of other books. And I thought it's time that I shared this knowledge, but also I wanted to bring people on so they could take up the banner, and carry it on after I'm gone. I'm an old man now, And I remember taking the baton from other old men when I was young. And it's time, to bring on the next generation of people who are going to do what I'm doing now. So I set it up. And originally I was giving lectures on a little TV station called EMTV. I don't know if you ever saw that. Went out from Milton Keynes. And they were on the Sky platform. This was before really the internet was a big thing. It was just starting. They didn't have any YouTube and things at that stage. So they were on the Sky platform. But that went by the by. They eventually gave up doing that. They didn't sort of make any money out of it, I suppose. But then I decided to set up my own channel, reluctantly at first on YouTube. But after 2020, when we had all the COVID stuff happening, I decided to build it up more and to start putting out regular lectures. And I've got over 200 lectures now. Most of them an hour long or more, on all sorts of esoteric subjects. But now I think we've reached a point. I should add that we also have a Patreon group, and there's over 30 members of that. And they get newsletters. They have access to lectures that are not given out to the public on YouTube. They're restricted. About half my lectures, I would say, are restricted. But I want to do something different. And instead of me just pouring out, the way I think of this is, if you came to my restaurant and I cooked your meal and you ate your meal, then, you paid your bill and you went, that's great. You've had a nice meal. But what I want to do is the equivalent of teaching people how to cook. And I want to show you the techniques more. And the way to do that is through live events like this. We'll discuss things. You can ask me questions, which you can't, when I just record things and put them out there, you can't really ask me questions. You make comments. We do get comments, but it's not the same thing, really. So I want to make it more real, more like a seminar than a lecture. Let's put it that way. If you've been to university, you would know what I'm talking about, but more like a seminar. So that's what we're going to do. And today we're going to talk about alchemy. I think it's a very good subject to start with, because it actually covers an enormous amount of things. And I'm not talking here about how to turn lead into gold. That was just always a cover story for something else. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Brilliant. So you heard Adrian, everyone. This is an interactive show. So please give us your comments in the chat box. Ask your questions.
Yeah.
If you've got a question for Adrian, please put it into capital letters so I can see it clearly in the chat box. So alchemy, Adrian, as I understand it, It's the ancient philosophical and proto-scientific tradition of turning base metals into gold, as you just mentioned. But I have a strong feeling now that you're going to tell us that there is much more to it than just that.
Well, I think the name tells you everything, really. Alchemy comes from alchem, which is an ancient name for Egypt.
Yes.
The delta area is called Kem or Kemu. So the alchem, the Kemu, it's the stuff they do in Egypt, might be one way to put it. Hermeticism would be another way to put it, after Hermes Trismegistus, who was the Greek name for Thoth, basically, the Egyptian god of knowledge. So it's the knowledge of the Egyptians is what they were really studying. And part of that knowledge was actually not really transforming metals, but they were experts of making amalgams of different things and making your gold go further by mixing other things in, so it still looks like gold, but you've multiplied it.
Yeah.
And they had recipes for this. And if you look up the Leiden manuscript from Egypt, it actually gives some of these recipes that were found in a sarcophagus.
Wow.
They buried it. These used to be kept in families and protected, rather like cooking recipes. They were worth a lot of money. You didn't share it with everyone. So they had recipes for how to do this and that and the other. And it wasn't just playing around with metals. It was also making medicines and extracts from plants and how to do this, that, and the other. The Egyptians were regarded as the experts at this, and they taught it to the Greeks. And by Roman times, the Greeks were regarded as being experts because they had learnt it from the Egyptians. So chemistry, yes, it's a good term. It is chemistry, but it's also organic chemistry, but it's also a different kind of chemistry, what you might call the chemistry of the person, the kind of transformations inside the body. And this is the philosophical alchemy, making the gold of the philosophers, aurum philosophorum in Latin. And that was what they were concerned with. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yes.
In general.
Just to add to that, Adrian, there's a new theory at the moment about the pyramids in Egypt. That they were built for alchemy, basically. They were alchemical plants, if you like. And that particular theory is gaining a lot of traction at the moment.
I haven't heard that one.
Have a look at the, I think the YouTube channel is called The Land of Chem.
Yes.
The Chem is spelled C-H-E-M. And Jeffrey Drum, the person behind that channel. Anyway, shall I key up an image?
Yes, key up an image and we'll get started, shall we?
Yes, we shall. So just bear with me, everyone, while I key this up. Okay. And let me know, Adrian, if you can see that on the screen.
I can't see anything at the moment except you and me. Oh, there we go.
Okay, let's. Oh, yes. It's on the screen. Great. Okay, brilliant.
Yes, we are at the bottom there. Right. Well, I've also got it on my laptop here.
Okay.
That picture you can see there is from a book called Musaeum Hermeticum, which was republished actually in the early 20th century by A.E. Waite, who's a famous esotericist from England. But the original was published in 1678, and these were illustrations done by Matthaeus Merien, and he was a famous illustrator of books at that time in the 17th century, and he's based in Frankfurt, which was a major center for alchemy. Prior to that, the center was more in Oppenheim, which was in the Palatinate. You don't know if you know anything about the Palatinate. The capital there was Heidelberg, and the the prince who ruled over Heidelberg and the Palatinate in the early 17th century was a guy called Frederick V. And he married actually the daughter of King James I of England, called Elizabeth. And their court was kind of, I suppose we might call it Bohemian. It was a sort of Enlightenment court, New Age in their terms.
Mm.
And a lot of people went there who were scholars who were looking into alternative ideas and particularly investigating things like alchemy. Mm. And books were published in Oppenheim by the de Bry print works, including those books I've often talked about on the college by Robert Fludd. Mm-hmm. And this was really the real center of Rosicrucianism at the time. We're talking here between about 1614 to 1620, or maybe a bit earlier, 1610 to 1620. The Rosicrucian movement, which was a movement to revitalize knowledge, revitalize the understanding of knowledge and science. But it came to a sad ending. They were Protestants, these people who were doing this, and they fell out with the Catholic emperor when Frederick V accepted the crown of Bohemia, which was in Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, we would call it now, Prague. And he was crowned king of Bohemia, which would make him an elector twice over. And that would have, I don't want to go into this, too much into this, but he would have become emperor in due course when they had an election that would turn the vote. And the imperial emperor in Austria, along with the Pope and the Spanish, decided that enough was enough, and they invaded the Palatinate, destroyed everything, destroyed Heidelberg Castle. Frederick and his wife Elizabeth, who had been crowned in Bohemia, fled, and they went to Holland, to Den Haag, and the whole lot was suppressed. But some of these people who had been involved in this then went to Frankfurt on Main, and they were able to carry on their work there. But they couldn't talk openly about their ideas, so they clothed them in the language of alchemy. And alchemy, as you know, is this quest to turn lead into gold and make precious things out of things that are not precious. And of course, everyone they didn't have the laws of chemistry in those days that we do now. They didn't know about the periodic table. They didn't know about atomic physics and the nucleus and all that, and how difficult it is to turn one metal into another. Mm. They thought it could be done by subtle means. And so the alchemists were sort of tolerated on the basis that they might come up with something and maybe we'll all make money out of it. So they could, as long as they talked in those terms, they could get away with it. And if you get their books and you try to read them, you'll very soon get very bored with it. You discover there's this problem of finding the prima materia, the thing you have to start with. And they will never tell you what the thing you have to start with is. So people were wondering, what the hell do you have to start with? And they tried all sorts of things, plants, they tried urine, they tried everything they could think of to be the first matter, the prima materia that they were going to start with. And then they had various processes, so-called, that they keep this stuff boiling away in a flask on a stove, and might keep it going for years, and have to tend the stove and look after it and make sure it doesn't go out and doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold. And then they observe things happening inside the flask at different colors, which they see that as being the peacock. And the citrine and the nigredo, when it all goes black, that's one of the first things that happen. And eventually they get the white stone and then the red stone. And it's the red stone was what they were after. And then they can use that to make gold, right? So this is all very well. And you read these books, you think, what the heck? You know, these people are nuts. You know, if you try to do what they're saying you should do, you're not going to get any gold out of it. But of course, that was a cover story. The real secrets are in the pictures. And the pictures actually have nothing whatever to do with the text. You look at these pictures and you scratch your head when they say it's illustrating this, and you see something like this, you know. And you think, what the heck has that got to do with chemistry? I wasn't talking about that when they taught me the periodic table. So we're going to go into the pictures a bit, and we're going to talk a bit about, and I thought I'd start off with this image because I think it's a very interesting one, very complex. And you look at that, and you think, wow, that's just, it's unbelievable. What the heck is this all about? How on earth am I meant to understand this? Well, you can, but the best way to do it is to compare images in different books and to put them all together. What different images of the same thing look like. And I actually have a book here. Where have I put it? Oh, down here. I don't know if you can see that, can you? I'm very small in here, aren't I?
We can, I think, just about alchemy.
Yeah. It's by a guy called Johannes Fabricius. And this was actually published in, well, it's probably got a publication date in here. Probably in the 70s, I think. 1976, this was published. Unfortunately, it's out of print now. But it's actually jam-packed full of pictures from all these different textbooks. The text that goes with it in true alchemical tradition is actually bollocks. But the pictures are all important. And he's done a fantastic job of collecting all these pictures together. And if you're really interested in alchemy, I did see one of these for sale on, it's out of print, as I say, but I think I saw one on Amazon at £12, but most of them, they had other ones, they're all over £50. Well, I didn't pay £50 for this. What did I pay? I paid £14.95, 1976. I suppose that would be quite expensive.
That was quite a lot in 19.
Quite a lot then.
Yeah.
But so that's where I get a lot of these pictures from that I use in the college, because he's actually got loads of pictures from some very, very rare books that it would cost you hundreds, if not thousands of pounds to buy.
Wow.
You know, the originals. If you could find them for sale, you know, they're very rare. And I hope someone republishes this. Who is it that it? I think it might have been. Yeah, I think it was published by Thorson's actually, which is part of Collins these days. So maybe I'll have a word with Collins sometime. Anyway, this one is called Janitor Pansophus IV. And I always thought a janitor was a guy who sort of cleans floors, you know, but actually it means the doorkeeper in Latin. So it's the doorkeeper of the Pansophia, the multiple wisdom. So he's the doorman leading to the wisdom. And I guess that represented by the guy in the middle there. He must be the doorkeeper. Okay. So I'm going to go through this particular sequence and show you how it developed. So if you want to put the next slide on, you do that? Yeah, there we go. Brilliant. So I've taken just the top part of that, and you probably recognize this as being representing the sort of the heavens, the higher universe. And you can see in the top register of that, you've got God, the tetragrammaton, the four letters there at the top there.
Okay, I wondered what that meant. Okay.
Yes, that said Yod-He Vau-He, which is Jehovah or God. Right. Okay. But you also got two other figures there. So you got a lamb and flag on the left-hand side there. Can you see that in a little roundel there?
Yeah.
And you've got a bird on the opposite side.
Yeah.
The lamb and flag represents Jesus, the Son.
Yes.
And the bird is the Holy Ghost. So the tetragrammaton at the top is God the Father. So you've got God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost there.
Oh, we've got the Trinity there, yeah?
You've got the Trinity there. And you've got all the angels arranged in choirs. And they always arrange them as choirs. And beneath the choirs of the angels, you then have lower worlds and leading down to our world. And you've got various symbols to do with stars. And you've got other symbols that are recognizable from some of the works of Robert Fludd, which I've talked to you about. And I'm going to show you, if I got that here. Yes, here. Another very good book I use a lot. Jocelyn Godwin did a great job of pulling together Fludd's work. You probably remember this picture. I've shown you to you many times in the college.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those other ones he has here as well. Similar kind of things. He shows the soul descending through the heavens, coming down through the various heavens.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, through the angelic spheres, and then through the spheres of the planets down to the earth. You've got terror in the middle.
Mm.
And so the souls, they spiral their way down and they end up on the earth. This is a Hermetic teaching.
Mm.
You'll find it in the Hermetica. I'm going to talk about that more some other time. But this is Robert Fludd was very much involved in that. And this is a more detailed version of what he's talking about there. So that's what that top part here is all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the relationship of the macrocosm above.
Yes.
And then the lower registers, the next ones we're going to go to, are all about what's going on in the lower heavens and earth.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go on to the next slide, if we may.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first one I want to take you to, is in the lower right-hand side. And you can see there a woman, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got her hand, there's a chain from her wrist going up to that, you can't see it on this slide, but the cosmos that I'm showing you, the macrocosm,
Oh, yeah.
there's a chain coming down to her wrist.
Yep.
Now, you've seen that before because you've seen that other picture.
Mm-hmm.
She represents nature. And nature, Mother Nature, is the mother of all things. And in the Hermetic teachings, they don't talk about Adam and Eve as the origins of life on earth. They talk about Adam, meaning the humanity in general, not just man, but woman as part of that as well, coming to earth and falling in love with nature, and nature falling in love with man, and seeing in man the image of God. She falls in love with him. He looks down and he sees his own reflection in her, in the waters below, and he falls in love with that, and they fall in love, they clasp each other together. And that's how we come to be here on earth, captured, as it were, by love. So this is the Hermetic teaching. It's a bit different from the Adam and Eve story you get in the Bible. But you can see in the Bible, it talks about Eve being the mother of all things, not just all people, all things. Well, that's really is nature, is the mother of all things. So she feeds them. And you can see from her breasts, you have the stream coming out. In this other Robert Fludd picture, he shows that nature is feeding everything from her breast, all the plants, the fish, the animals, everything. So she's there. And you can see she's got one hand reaching out to the moon. Obviously, the moon, to do with women, the menstrual cycle is tied to the moon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one side of it. And I think I'm going to switch to the next slide now, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you can see more detail there. I put there. You can see how she's holding a bunch of grapes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And that's because she's, fruitful. That represents fruitfulness. Nature is fruitful and bountiful. So she's doing that. And her other hand is reaching out to the moon because she's tied to the moon as well, to the cycles of the moon. Mother Nature's looking after the moon. It's her baby. So that's the other side to that as well. So on to the next slide. Yes, now that was the one I was showing you earlier, showing the same thing from the Robert Fludd. And you see the figure of nature there, and she has her wrist tied up to the tetragrammaton at the top. So she's not free to do whatever she wants. She is a captive as well. Mother Earth is not free. She has her place in the cosmos, and her place is to look after life on Earth. Right. But she also has, in this slide you can see, she holds a chain reaching down to the ape in the middle. Can you see that ape?
Oh, yes, I can, yeah.
And he's sitting on a globe, and he represents mankind, and he is imitating nature to do what nature does in miniature. So one of the teachings of alchemy was that you have to follow in the footsteps of nature. In other words, you have to learn the laws of nature in order to be able to emulate nature. And we know that, but we have to do the same thing with our science. We learn the laws of nature, natural physics or natural philosophy. We learn the laws of physics, we learn the laws of chemistry, we learn the laws of this, that, and the other. Everything we learn the laws of has the word logi on the end. So there's the laws of geology, the laws of astrology, the laws of anthropology, study of man. So everything we study, the word logi means it comes from logos, meaning the word or the law. So she has, if man, in order to be successful to do things, we follow her, and we use the mind as a mirror. Anyway, we're not discussing that slide in detail, but I just wanted to show you that the comparison between different sets of teachings in different books and the images they give, each elaborate another. You can see on this one, for instance, you've got 3 circles of angels going round on the outer parts of the circle. Can you see that?
Yes, yeah.
That's because traditionally in Catholicism, there are 3 choirs of angels, and there are different orders of angels. So the ones nearest to God are higher than the ones further away. So the seraphim and cherubim are in the higher brackets. The angels and archangels are in the lower bracket, and you've got other ones called dominions and thrones and so on. So anyway, but below them you have the sphere of the fixed stars, the zodiac. Well, it's more than the zodiac. It's the whole sphere of stars that rotates around us, the fixed stars, the constellations. But below them, when I say below, I mean moving towards the center, we then have the spheres of the planets. The outermost one, from their point of view, was Saturn. They didn't know about Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. Saturn was the outermost one, the slowest moving. So that was the old man. And then next one in was Jupiter. Saturn is a period of about 30 years, Jupiter 12. And then you go into the next one, Mars, which is 2 years. And then you got to, they don't put the Earth, they put the sun there because the sun goes round us. We're looking at the old astrology.
Wow, yeah.
The Earth-centered astrology. So the sun takes a year to go around, and then below that you had a Venus, and then you have Mercury, and then the moon. The moon's only 30 days. Mercury is 88 days. And then you come to the spheres of the elements, and the outer element was fire. And then come down a bit further, you come to air. And then a bit further, you come to water, and then earth, the lowest element. So this was the realms of nature that she rules over. And then you have the various kingdoms of the animal kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, and the mineral kingdom that she rules over as well. So this was their conception of reality of the universe, the higher universes and the lower universes, and nature as the median between them. Want to move on to the next one?
Yes, yep. There we go.
Yes. Now, this again is interesting. You've got this figure of this man with a deer's head. And you wonder about this. What is he about? Well, he's to do with imagination. And the deer is a symbol of the imagination. Deer are very hard to see. They hide, they're camouflage, but they tend to come out at night time to eat. And in the full moon, they're most likely to be seen. But the full moon also makes people go a bit crazy. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but when there's a full moon, people drive like maniacs. It does something to us. And we call it lunacy, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, people become a bit lunatic. That lunatic means a bit mad, a bit off your trolley. And it's because it influences the subconscious mind. So he represents imagination and the subconscious projections and the shadow figure. And he's got antlers, like the devil, I guess, the deer's head. And he's got 12 stars on those antlers, like the 12 signs of the zodiac.
Oh, yeah.
So he's kind of like a shadow figure. And if you've ever seen Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, that's set in midsummer, and the king of the fairies casts a spell on his wife. You ever seen that?
Not since I was a kid, Adrian. So yeah. A long time ago.
He casts a spell on his wife that she'll fall in love with the first person she meets. And then there's an old guy called Bottom, and he puts a spell on him that she looks like an ass, and she falls desperately in love with this ass-headed guy. That's the joke in the Midsummer Night's Dream. Well, that's all to do with this infatuation of the subconscious mind and how it can influence us to do stupid things if taken to extremes, out of balance. And I'll come back to that a bit later. So if you want to move on to the next slide.
Here we are.
You can see on the other side, we have a man, and he's attached also by a chain. So he's not totally free either. And he's holding a sun, sunshine. He represents the solar logos. The solar logos is the influence of the sun, the law or the driving force of the sun. They have the higher logos of God. God himself issues words of command. I talk about the logos stream in the college. You've probably heard that, me talking about that.
Yeah.
So God issues the commands, let there be this, let there be that, let there be fish in the water, let there be birds in the air. These are all logi. And because God is the supreme ruler, what he says is the law. This was the old understanding. The king, for example, in his own kingdom, his word was the law. He gave the laws. So, for instance, in Babylon, you had Hammurabi. You heard of him?
No.
Gave the laws?
No.
In Athens, who was a great lawgiver? The Solon.
Oh, yes.
Gave the laws to Athens. And someone did the same for Rome. So you get some really wise guy. Otherwise, it's the king. And the king in Britain, I think it was Dyfnwal Moelmud. Mamertine law. He issued the laws, and people obeyed the laws. And then they see these are good laws, so they carry them on. So the solar logos issues the laws within the solar system. That's his jurisdiction. So you see, the sun rules the solar system, but he's constrained. He doesn't have total freedom. He's constrained by the chain up to the higher heavens. So the sun is not totally free to do whatever it wants, but it issues light and it issues electricity and solar wind, which the planets receive, and they have to obey what they're given. Particularly the light is important because the light is what feeds nature, isn't it?
Yes.
And without any light from the sun, we wouldn't be here. It would be a barren rock. Without the magnetic field of the earth, the atmosphere would blow away and it would also be a barren rock. So this is the understanding. He represents the masculine influence. And you had the lion there consuming the sun. And I think this represents the sun moving into the sign of Leo. Okay. And the sun was recognized as being at its strength when it was in Leo, right? Mm-hmm. So when the sun was moving into Leo, that's when he's in his ultimate strength.
Yes.
So this is the, what would they call it? The paternalistic thing that the feminists hate so much, toxic masculinity, they call it, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, actually, you need it because it gives you the force and the strength to get things done. It lays out the order and makes possible civilization, decent life. If you're all living in your imagination all the time, like a bunch of hippies, then things very quickly fall apart. If everyone's drugged out and there's unconscious mind, nobody's picking up the rubbish, nobody's making sure the trains run on time, you very quickly fall apart, don't you?
Absolutely.
So on the other hand, if that goes to extremes, you end up with a tyranny. And you end up with everybody else being enslaved. No free will. And we're meant to have free will up to a point. So this is the dichotomy, the opposite, if you like, of nature, is the solar influence that's coming in. This was recognized by these ancients.
Okay.
So you want to move on to the next one?
I was just going to ask you something very quickly, Adrian. I'm very drawn to the phoenix, who appears to have two orbs underneath its wings or something.
Yes, I'm going to come to them in a little bit. So okay. I'm saving them up.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the next image.
So, yes, I was going to show you this one. You've probably seen this image many times on book covers or illustrations or, used for all sorts of advertising material, all sorts of things. Again, it shows you the sun and the moon as polar opposites, the male and the female. So in the macrocosm, you've got the sun and the moon in the corners there. And then in the microcosm, you've got the solar logos and the anima, the figure of nature standing on the moon there. But it's also man and woman. And then within the earth itself, you've got the sacred geometry there, the triangle, the square, and the circle.
Yes.
Very interesting image, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But I wanted to show you that to show that these themes carry on in other contexts, in other books, in other situations. So there it is. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. There we go.
Yes. Now, as I said, the sun eating the lion eating the sun, I think, is to do with the sun moving into the sign of Leo. Now, in alchemical textbooks, if you read the text, or if you read commentaries on the text, they'll often talk about the lion representing aqua forte, which is a mixture of hydrochloric and nitric acids, which will dissolve gold. So they say that the sun represents gold, and this is the gold being dissolved into the nitric acid or the nitric and hydrochloric acid, so it can be purified. Well, maybe that's true. I don't know. But I think it represents the sun moving into Leo when it's in its strength.
Mm.
That's what I think. And it represents the full force of the sun, you could say. On the next one.
Yep.
Yeah, now we come to these globes. Now you got two birds there. One was on with, as you said, the phoenix next to the man, or below the man, and the other was Aquila. Aquila means eagle in Latin, and he was on the other side, and he got four globes there. Well, they represent the four elements: fire, air, water, and earth, moving from left to right. So the phoenix, fire and air, in Hermetic studies, Hermetic teachings, they teach that God, first of all, created the universe. The Egyptian version, I'm sorry, I'm going to be a bit rude here. The Egyptian creation myth was that God masturbated and he ejaculated his stuff, and it's a big blob, and then it starts separating out. And the heavier matters, earth and water, sink downwards, and the more refined matters, the fire and the air, rise up. So you end up with the earth in the middle, the water around it, and the air around that, and above the air is the zone of fire. Well, they're quite right. This is true. Fire is actually plasma. It's atoms without electrons and electrons free from their nuclei. And that's exactly what you have in the Van Allen belts, and then extending out into all of space. The 99.9% of all matter in the universe is in the plasma state. So it's very diffuse plasma in space itself, very diffuse, but there's enough there to be able to transmit electricity, because electricity is really moving charged particles. So you have charged particles. The solar wind is charged, and that is an electric current that's flowing out through space. It comes to us and it goes to the other planets. So you have on the phoenix side, the phoenix rises. That's the phoenix goes up when it's burnt. Its soul arises. On the other hand, the eagle swoops down to grab, and it's the word comes down. The logos, it brings the logos to earth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's why in churches you have a Bible lectern. And the Bible is the word of God. The logos is placed on the back of an eagle, a spread eagle, as a lectern very often. So that's what these are about. And it's, again, the Hermetic teaching to do with the four elements. Okay, next one. Now we come to the nub of it, don't we? The guy in the middle, the janitor. There's the janitor. He's swept the carpet.
We've got a one-faced or one-headed lion by the looks of it. Or
yes, one-headed, two lions. Now, I'll come to that in just a sec. You've got 7 trees on the outer ring of trees around him, and they have planetary symbols on them. And on one side, on the side where the man is, he's got the outer planets. He's got Saturn and Jupiter and Mars. Over his head, you've got the sun. On the other side, you've got the inner planets, Venus, Mercury, and the moon. The moon and sun were counted as planets by the ancients. So they had 7 in all. He's standing there, and behind him, there seems to be like a road, doesn't there, leading along.
yes.
So he's guarding the gate, leading to the road that leads to the beyond. It goes up to the sun, doesn't it? First of all, the tree there.
Yeah.
And then beyond that is the macrocosm. So he's the janitor. Now, why has he got this robe?
And
well, that robe.
flags. Yeah. Sorry, I think he's got 2 flags in his hand.
He's got 2 flags. I'll come to that in a sec. His robe is half white and half black, and it's covered in stars. Now, what that robe represents is his astral body, that he's crystallized his astral body. Astra means star, but it also means light. It's the body of light. And in the Gospels, in Christianity, it's the wedding garment that you need to be wearing to come to the marriage feast of the bride and the husband. Remember that from your Christian days at Sunday school or whatever, that they would teach you about the wise and foolish virgins, do you remember? And the wise ones brought oil with them to fill their lamps, and the foolish ones forgot, and they had to go back to get some more. And when they came back, it was too late. The train had gone. So he's wearing his astral body, which is crystallized. And that's what the work is really all about. It's what the philosophical alchemy is about concentrating enough of refined stuff within yourself while you're still alive, so that when you die, you have the vessel, you have the wedding garment that will enable you to get into heaven. That's a very deep teaching, but
yes. What I was going to say, what happens if you don't have that garment ready?
Very good question. You have to come back here.
I thought you would say that.
But the bigger question is what happens at the end of the age when here might not be available to come back to. That's a big question, isn't it?
Definitely.
So that's the big threat. The two lions, they represent sexual union, the male and the female sexual force coming together as one. But it's done within the body, not outside of it. It represents sublimation of sexual force, which is how you crystallize the astral body, part of it. Very, very deep teachings, this. I mean, you can see why they had to put it in secret into these kind of diagrams, because if they spoke about this sort of thing outwardly, they'd be rounded up by the Inquisition.
Yes.
You know, they'd be given very short shrift. So that's what that's all about. And he's holding his two flags of the stars, don't they? He's saying, you know, I'm a star being. That's what he's saying, basically, with his flags and his robe. And he's talking about the energy of the stars coming to Earth. And that ties in with the tarot card called the Star. You've probably seen that. Have you seen the tarot cards?
I'm not an expert on tarot, but yeah, I know the card you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pouring out sort of water into a stream and feeding things. It's the star force. It's something higher. Gurdjieff called it H12. Won't mean anything to you if you haven't studied Gurdjieff and Uspensky, but
not yet. No, that sounds quite a technical term.
Yes. He talked about this being a refined energy that we can make within our bodies, but we can also collect it by other means, because we don't make enough, really, to crystallize ourselves. Anyway, that's what this is all about. And have I got one after that? I think I have, haven't I?
We have. We've still got another 5 images left.
Right, let's go down through them. Yes, I'm talking about those two. The two become one. And there you can see another picture of a lion. This lion is feeding its young, isn't it? And she's holding a globe. And the globe shows a pelican pecking at his chest. And that's another old symbol. The pelican feeds its young by shedding its own blood. It pecks its own chest so that they can feed off its blood. I don't know if they actually do this, but this was always a symbol that was used in the church to represent self-sacrifice.
Right.
So this is all about sacrifice, this image. So part of the way to attain whatever we're trying to attain does require sacrifice. And it's the sort of sacrifice that parents give to their children. If you have children, you have to put them before yourself. You know, their needs have to come before yours. All parents know this, or good ones do. So by doing that, you actually earn merit. And it's one of the I won't say easiest, but it's one of the most straightforward ways of doing the necessary sacrifice, duty. And it's the duty of one generation to the next. So that's what that's all about, I believe. So on to the next one. Yeah, we got him again. You can see him much more clearly here, the janitor. You can see the road stretching out behind him. He's like the hermit, I guess, in the tarot. He's leading, or he's showing you the way. And he's holding up the flags. He's saying, this way, ladies and gentlemen, to find your way to the stars, which represents being able to leave the earth. And to do that, you've got to perfect the astral body. Interesting, isn't it?
Fascinating, Adrian, yeah.
Next one.
I think this is the last one, yeah. We're back at the start.
Yes, we're back to the start. So I want you to come back and see the whole thing again. So, does anyone have any questions at this point?
All right, let me just
have we got anyone watching, by the way?
Oh, we do. Yes, we've got some people watching, and I've seen at least one question so far. Now I've seen two. So let's go to questions if that's okay with you. Shall I stop sharing screen now so we're back on screen?
Yes, yeah. Come back with us too.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, brilliant. Right. So the first question comes from Merlin's boy.
Merlin's boy. Oh.
Yeah, he's asked, does Adrian think there may have been a Merlin class of professional advisors that could adapt to the religion of the paradigm that has survived the millennia?
He means a class of initiates. Well, undoubtedly we do have that. We have the story in the Bible. I'm a Christian, right? I may be a very peculiar Christian, but I'm a Christian. I absolutely believe in Jesus Christ. But we have the story about after the death and resurrection and ascension. That's a lot to take in from the start, isn't it? The idea that a man could rise from the dead and then ascend to heaven. Well, I don't believe it was his physical body that arose to heaven. It was his astral body, or even higher bodies than that, was able to go up and dematerialize into a cloud and disappear. That's what I think happened. But anyway.
Did the disciples actually witness that?
Yes. If you read the Acts of the Apostles, it's in there.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the Acts of the Apostles. Now they then, they're very frightened. You can imagine they're terrified. That our leader, he's supposed to be this great man. He's all powerful. He's going to be king. And suddenly he's been crucified and risen from the dead. Oh, that's great. Yeah, he's come back. He's great. And then he disappears. They're terrified. They're going to round us all up, and they're going to crucify us. So they're all gathered in the upper room where the Last Supper had taken place. And this is on the first Whitsun, which is 50 days after Easter. It still is. Whitsun is 50 days. So it's the Easter Sunday is always a Sunday. And you count on 50 days from that. You count 40 days will take you to Ascension Day, right, which is a Thursday normally. Then you count on to 50, and it takes you to another Sunday. So that's 7 weeks later, plus a day. So seven octaves. And then they are gathered in the room, and these tongues of fire came down on them. The Holy Ghost descends on them, and suddenly they're given powers. They're able to speak in tongues, they say. Well, I don't believe that means going, I don't believe it's that at all. I think these people who think that are nuts. A tongue is a language. They're able to speak and understand other languages. And they can speak to people who in the language that they understand. It wouldn't be much use speaking something that nobody understands, would it? So That's one of their powers. They're given powers of healing, powers to cast out demons. Now, if you don't believe in demons, you can't be a Christian, because one of the main things Jesus does when he's going around is casting out demons.
Yeah.
So if you don't believe there are demons, you can't be a Christian. It's nothing, they are supernatural beings. We are as well, but except we are embodied.
In Islam, sorry, Adrian, in Islam, they're known as the jinn or the yin, aren't they?
There are jinns in Islam. I've met someone who came to his family had a jinn. I'll tell you that story sometime. Maybe I told it to you before. I don't know.
No, not that one. No.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that a bit later.
Yeah.
But yes, so there are these supernatural beings who come down here who shouldn't be here. Bad guys. There also are angels, good guys, higher beings. But we are in this situation of being embodied, and we can't see these entities, or we can sometimes sense them. But most people are too insensitive to be able to sense them. Some people can see them. I met a lady a long time ago now. I think she's probably passed over now, but she could see ghosts. She went into Westminster Abbey once and had a long chat with Elizabeth I. Yeah, I was with her, and I went into a little church of John the Baptist in the city, and I was in the middle of writing my book on the New Jerusalem, and I was stuck, and I didn't know quite what I should be doing to bring it all together, So I went in there with her, and I sat down and I started meditating. Suddenly I saw in my mind's eye Christopher Wren, and I had a long chat with Christopher Wren about what he was doing and what I should do for the book. And he told me to put more geometry in it. Yeah. So I did. And when I opened my eyes, she was laughing. And she said to me, you sat down right next to him.
Yeah, wow. You should have asked him to write the foreword to your book.
I should have done, shouldn't I? But these things do exist. And I've met clairvoyants who have got those gifts. And I've met others who are complete charlatans. Most, I'm afraid, will be in that zone, or else they have a demon whispering in their ear, telling them stuff. They're not really clairvoyant. There's not so many who are really clairvoyant. But anyway, there are entities out there. And he was asking about, was there a school of Merlins that passed through one thing to another? Well, I think there probably were. And they recognized something, that it seems that the Druids converted to Christianity. Those who hadn't been slaughtered by the Romans, in Holyhead at the time of the Boudica rebellion. But there certainly were elders of the Britons, people with various different thoughts on this. I don't know the ins and outs, to be honest, any more than you do. I've read things, and you've read things, and people have imaginations, but it does seem that they did convert fairly easily. There was Saint Illid, who's Joseph Ramatier, who came to, I believe, Glamorgan, and founded the first school there with Saint Urgine, daughter of Caractacus. And they settled there. But he went to other places as well, and you find other churches of Illid scattered around in Wales. So he obviously traveled around, seeking converts. There's other people involved in the conversion as well, as one called Aristobulus.
That's right.
Who becomes our Whistly hen in Welsh.
Yes.
Our Whistly, the ancient one, hen. St. Paul is said to have come to London. Your namesake, your patron saint, preached outside where St. Paul's Cathedral is now. And you can see a statue of him on a pillar there, if you
And
go there.
Who was the chap who wrote The Lost Disciples? Jowett, was it?
Jowett, yeah.
Yes, he said that Simon Zealots came to Britain and was martyred in Lincoln.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I've not been able to trace the source for that one.
Go to Lincoln, they probably tell you that.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Merlin's boys followed up with another question.
Oh,
here.
right.
He says, so the absence of Uranus and Pluto means that the deepest knowledge had been lost. Maria Wheatley, however, has located these planets on the landscape on the Stonehenge lay.
Well, you know my feelings about ley lines.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I was friends with John Michel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Alfred Watkins was the old straight chat guy.
Right, yeah.
And I think you have to remember that at the time he was writing, I think it was the 1930s.
20s, I think.
20s. Yeah. People were very interested in the idea of Roman roads and trying to trace the old straight tracks of the Roman roads. Yeah. So I think that's what it was really all about. And I don't believe that you get energy traveling in straight lines like that. It will follow water currents underground, maybe. But I'm not convinced. Let's put it that way.
Well, I've spoken to a chap called Lawrence Main. I don't know if you've ever come across that name before.
Not him, no.
He gets very animated if you say ley lines. He doesn't like that term at all. He says they're lays. And I don't think that proponents of that theory think that these lines are absolutely straight.
Yeah,
they're more like rivers, if you like.
Well, the word ley, spelled Leigh or Ley or Lay, it actually means a field. So they're field lines. So normally speaking, you would think about being the hedgerows in the line or something like that. So I don't know. I don't want to get into arguments over this. I just don't believe in it. But there you go. I know lots of people who do, and I respect them. You know, I knew John Michel. He's a great guy, and I think his work on sacred geometry was priceless, and his work on Stonehenge and developing the whole New Jerusalem diagram. I talked to him about that once, and he said to me, his proudest achievement in life was when he made the discovery you could take the Earth and you could put the moon on it. The diameter of the Earth and the diameter of the circle of the moon, and you could draw a square using the center of the moon. I think that's what it works, and it squares the circle.
Yes.
Amazing, when you think about it. It can't be coincidental, can it?
No, not at all. I'll just put up this. I don't know. It's not so much a question from Peanut7, who said the Druids who converted to Christianity became the Chaldees. Correct? Question mark. They came into confrontation with Roman Catholicism. Isn't the Pope's title Pontifex Maximus a title for the chief Druid?
No, Pontifex Maximus is an old Roman title of the emperors. It really means the greatest builder of bridges.
Oh, okay.
Pontifex means builder of bridges. Pont being bridge. Fex does it, makes it. Maximus means maximum, greatest. So Pontifex Maximus was an old imperial title, but the popes took it over. It shows you Catholicism absorbed a lot of the old Roman Empire into its structures. The Romans had parishes, they organized along parish lines. So there we go. Sorry.
That's all right. Another comment from Andrew Christie. Astral body and the soul body are distinct in yogic teachings. The astral is to be discarded so to speak, or displaced by the soul body, which is what you were saying in your presentation.
Well, you do have a number of potential bodies. I'm following the Gurdjieff teachings that the astral body is unformed unless you develop it. It's like a fetus,
Oh, we've lost Adrian. What happened there? That was very strange.
Or something. Oh, there we
Sorry,
go.
we lost you very briefly there, and you come straight back.
Oh well, never mind.
Okay.
I haven't ascended.
We've got Merlin's boy here. He's talking about hippies. So I think you'll find that hippies withdraw from making rubbish to be collected or have need for trains. In their world, everything is fine. Mine's pretty much running as planned. Okay.
All right. Well, yeah.
I
Each to their own life.
I take your point earlier about hippies, Adrian. My parents were sort of hippies, if you like.
And, well, I was a hippie back in the day.
Yeah.
I did a lot of hitchhiking. I hitchhiked across America, and I cycled to Israel. I was pretty feeling easy. But you can't live like that forever. You do need to take some responsibility for your life.
Yeah.
And part of that responsibility is giving something back to the community by doing a job, usually, and getting paid for it.
Okay. Yeah. Should we round it up now, I think?
Yes.
We've had lots and lots of comments in the chat box, which for episode 1 is absolutely fantastic. So thank you to everyone for your contributions this evening. And your questions. It's been great. Next, I was going to say next week. It's not next week. We're doing this on a fortnightly basis. So in 2 weeks' time, I believe we're going to be discussing natural health, aren't we, Adrian?
Natural health, yeah.
Okay. So what's your expertise, I suppose, in natural health, would you say?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I'm someone who has to pay a lot of attention to it because I'm diabetic. I've got type 1 diabetes. I've had that for 30 years. I caught a very bad swine flu, which destroyed the conducting part in the left side of my heart. So I have to have a pacemaker to keep me alive. I'm fighting to stay alive. I have been for 40 years. So I know a lot about what you have to do to stay alive. And it's not all you can't just rely on the health service to do it for you. You have to take responsibility for yourself, whatever your situation is. And I have too much work to do here to just say bye-bye yet.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've got quite a lot to offer that conversation then. So I'll be looking forward to listening to you talk about that. And of course, I own a company, Nutrient Nirvana, that sells supplements and herbs. But I'm into every single aspect of natural health. I find it fascinating. And I think it's particularly important at this moment in time because our health is being challenged from just about every quarter there is. So, yeah, tune in 2 weeks' time. That will be Tuesday, I think it will be the 17th, if my maths is
10th, was it? Is it 3rd today?
The 3rd today, so I think it's the 17th.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So 17th, yeah.
And it will be the usual time of 7 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great. I really enjoyed that presentation. I'll be watching that back. And it's opened up so much for me, just listening to you give that presentation. So thank you, Adrian.
Okay, then. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.